Hello, the purpose of this audio is to help you complete the CSECC Pledge form. Enjoy!
Especially new employees, they get this form on their chair or in their inbox and nobody's there to help them, and it's kind of overwhelming, and so they just check, sorry, decline. I can't figure this out, I don't want to do anything. And so they just turn it in without a deduction. And there's many reasons why people do that, but I feel the more we can educate them and make this easier for them and they know who to go to if they have questions, then the more deductions we can get through CalPERS. And we're always one of the top contributors via this process. Although times have been tough in the past and we've kind of gone down a bit, I think last year we kind of picked the tail end up a little bit and did a little bit better. So I'm just here to give you a brief overview of the form and kind of the key components of it so you're educated and you can help your employees in walking through this form if they have questions. All of you today, and hopefully you know your unit number, but if you do not, I'm going to give you this, and it has your unit number on it. Over there are all the forms. So before you leave today, there's two things that are going to happen. Leslie went to grab because we didn't have them. Each of you have to sign a confidentiality agreement because you're going to be collecting forms that have Social Security numbers on them. Everybody who is contributing or wants to stop, has been contributing and wants to stop, needs to put their Social Security number on the form. You see that in the my top right here, that yellow area. So that there's really no alternative because these go to the state controller's office, which trigger the deduction, and that's the only way to ensure they have the right person with a unique identifier. And so it's really imperative you put that on there. Yes?
I represent the investment office.
Uh-huh.
There are several key campaigners.
Yes.
So the confidentiality agreement, are you going to have that available online?
Yes, we'll have to get it to everybody, and maybe I'll give you a stack for you to take back to whoever's not here and have them send it in to me. I kind of put one of you for each area at least in charge of kind of collecting those before the forms go out. So that's one thing you're going to do, sign that confidentiality agreement. You're going to pick up the forms for your unit, so that should have each employee in your agency. Now obviously you have people who have left, and you have new people who have come maybe after these forms were generated because they had to be generated at a point in time. Each of you will receive a handful of blank forms, and there's a link as well, I believe, in one of the emails to the blank forms. And those you would give to anybody who doesn't have their name printed on a form. And sometimes they've switched divisions, and so their form's in another division. If you guys see one of those, try to get it back to the person, but if not, it's not a big deal. They can complete a blank one. It just doesn't have their name pre-printed on the top. But you'll see those names pre-printed on the top when you're distributing those forms. I encourage you, when you distribute those forms to your employees, shoot them out an email. Let them know that you're the key campaigner for your division. You're available to ask or answer any questions they might have about completing the form. If you have any questions after you leave here, because I'm going to throw a bunch of this at you, feel free to email me, email Leslie Goodman, my assistant, and because we did this last year, we have some familiarity with these forms. So make sure we pick up that before you leave. I'm just going to, I think I'm going to pass these out now so you know, well, there's a lot here, so I don't want to waste too much time, but everybody has a roster. So ACTO, whoever's here for ACTO, I got their roster. They should have their unit 100. They'll go over here, and there's the 100 forms sorted. You'll grab all the unit 100 forms, and it should match up to this. You don't need to check it right now. If you get back to your desk, and you find you have one that doesn't belong to you, right, you can send it back to Leslie and I. Okay? So everybody, every division has one of these. And it's just a way to make sure you've handed them all out and collected them all back, and then you turned them into us. So again, it's 100% ask. The only way we can validate that we did 100% ask is if we get them all back in. That's why we ask, even if they don't want to donate, that they check this box here, box H, I believe it is. H, yes, that says decline. And so this is a little cheat sheet for you that's up here, but each of your forms that you hand out will look just like this. And I'm just going to walk you through the fields here that are important. But H is, I'm not contributing now, and I still don't want to contribute. And you collect it back, and therefore we've verified that we've done 100% ask, as best as you can. Some people are out on maternity leave. They might be on vacation during this critical time period. That's okay. Just put a note on their form and send it back to us.
And they have to write their name on it?
Their name will already be on it.
Oh, it's already?
Yeah.
But not their social?
Not their social, right?
So they'll still do that when they do H?
Yes.
Okay.
No, they don't need to put their social if they're declining.
Okay.
Right, and I'll walk through here for a minute. So we got the social, top right, critical if you're...
Top left.
Yeah, top left, my top right up here. If they're doing a new payroll deduction, and I'll talk about that in a minute, or if they're deleting their deduction, or changing their deduction, or continue their existing, it's critical that that social is there so SCO can match that up. Their name and unit will already be printed there. That top orange space, it's called the current PCFD code. This is the important thing about this field is if there's a number in there, likely it's 024, and all the PCFDs, what do you have in your packet there? Just this? Okay. If you had the actual form or one of the blank forms, so this is a blank form, on the back it gives you all the PCFDs. You're not going to see it on our mock-up because that's just for the front. But when you get these forms and you hand each person one, all the PCFDs are on the back. The PCFD is it's a location of where that United Way is centralized. So most people have 024, which is the Sacramento area, right? And it's the United Way capital, or California capital region. So we have this California State Employees Charitable Campaign, which is this big umbrella, and some people think this is a United Way campaign, and they'll call it the United Way campaign. It's not necessarily a United Way campaign. If you don't designate, the purpose of this is to take this book and find those charities that you would like to donate to and specify them. But if you don't specify a charity, then it goes to the greater United Way region, and what the United Way does is it helps several charities in that region. Okay, so that's why some people mistake it for the United Way campaign. But all this going on out there today, it's really California State Employees Charitable Campaign. Okay, so the PCFD code tells us which region, if you didn't specify any, which region's United Way will get your money. Okay, so 024 Sacramento. Why would you ever change it? You probably wouldn't unless you used to live in San Bernardino and you really want to get your money back home where you came from. Then you could not specify any charity and just direct it to that area's United Way. Okay? But you would see 024 on most of your people who are donating. If you see X's in that box up there, that means the individual is not donating at this time. Okay? So, and it's important to tie those when you get, we like you to do a bit of auditing ahead of time, although we have our key auditors, our Office of Audit Services really takes a closer look at all these. And Liz helps us with that. But you're kind of that first line of defense to make sure that, for instance, if they had XXX up there, and then they said, change my existing deduction, you can't do that. That means they're not contributing yet. So if they want to contribute and they have XXX up there, they must be choosing a new payroll deduction. Or they would choose decline. I don't want to. Okay? If they have a number up there, a 024 for instance, and they do not want to contribute anymore, then they would choose this box here, C, delete my deduction. Okay? If they have numbers up there and they chose decline, that doesn't work, right? So that's your first line of defense of, no, you already have a deduction, decline, that's not going to do anything. It's going to keep your deduction going. You must say delete my deduction, and then it would come off entirely.
Okay. I have a question.
Yep.
Did you say we could put XXX in some situation?
No, so
You can never have
that
XXX.
box will be pre-populated on
It'll be
every form. So it'll either already have XXX if they're not contributing, or it'll have 024 or some other PCFD. So you don't have to worry about
Okay.
what to put in there. You just have to be able to correlate it to the other choices that they're making.
Okay.
Okay? So I'm brand new, I have XXX there, I want to start a new deduction, easy. Box A, I put in my PCFD, which again, typically is 024, so you want to instruct your employees that, don't get overwhelmed by PCFD. 024 is the Sacramento region. And then they would put their monthly deduction. If you're an old school state employee, you remember, I'm looking at you, Donna. You remember when the minimum used to be $2, right, Barbara? And but in the last year, it started last year, they raised the minimum deduction to $5. And that was just because it's getting more expensive to do these things administratively, and it didn't really pay anymore to do it for $2. So there's a $5 minimum deduction. If somebody already has an existing $2 or $3 or $4 deduction, they can maintain that, but they must be just choosing continue my existing deduction. They can't do anything else. So they can retain that $2 deduction, but they just have to say continue. They can't change who they want to give to. They just have to say continue my existing deduction. Otherwise, if they make any sort of change, that minimum is now $5. Now they can say $7 and contribute $7 to one charity, but if they want to split it between two, I believe the minimum is $5 for any one charity. Okay? So now let's go down here. Change my existing deduction amount. So if they want to change their existing deduction amount, they're going from, if they're going from $2 and they want to go to $3 or $4, they can't. They have to go to $5. Right? So they would change to whatever the new amount is. They don't add it to whatever they currently have. This overrides everything else, and if I'm contributing $10 and now I want to do 20, I would mark 20 in there, and it would override anything I currently had going from previous years. Okay. Change my PCFD. Again, that's typically, don't let them get overwhelmed with that box. They would rarely do that. That means they already have a number up in that box, 024, and they want to give to a different region. Doesn't happen very often. And then continue my existing deduction. They would mark that if they just want to stay status quo. It's very important that they sign this form. And as the first level auditor, you want to make sure if they've done anything up here that you have that form signed. The state controller cannot take that deduction without an authorized signature from the employee.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt.
No problem.
I'm upstairs and I tried to call it, it's not working.
Yeah.
Someone else from the regional office, and I'm sick, so I didn't want to come down.
No worries. I don't think we were prepared for that, and so, are you with the regional office as well?
No, I work here, I'm sick, so I didn't want to come down.
Okay.
All my germs and everyone else.
We appreciate that.
Someone from the regional office is trying to call in as well.
Yeah, we already touched base with some of the regional office
Okay.
people, and they're gonna get it to them.
Okay.
If you need to, some assistant, what area are you with?
VP3?
Okay, we can reach out to you and make sure you get this information.
Okay,
There's
thank you
nobody
so
else
much.
here from VP3. Thank you. Technical difficulty. How we do that. This box here, G, that's if somebody just wants to make a one-time deduction, right? They want to write a check for $10 to a specific charity. They want to write a check for $10 to go to the Greater United Way. They can do that by marking box G. So they say one-time gift. They don't need their SSN on this one because there's no ongoing deduction. They put that amount in there, and then we ask that sometimes people give cash. You put that in an envelope. That money, you staple it to the form and make sure it gets to Leslie or I. Okay. When we put a little cheat sheet on it, put dollars in an envelope and staple to the form so we don't lose track of the two. I'll just mention it again because it's important. If they aren't contributing now, X is up top, and they do not want to start contributing, they choose decline. And again, we want to get those forms back so we can kind of prove that 100% ask that we met our goal. So that's a signature for that section saying, yes, take my deduction. Down here, we're asking, who do you want to pay this to? So you could stop right there and be done, and your money will go to the Greater United Way, your PCFD, and we're good to go. We appreciate your deduction. However, if you want to specify your charity, then you start completing this section here. I wish to make the following designations, and you start listing who you want to give to and how much you want to give to them. So these should end up totaling what your new deduction amount is, okay? Or your new deduction amount should be totaled up here. If it's less, the remaining would go to the Greater United Way. If it's more, you'll probably get it back asking you to fix your total contribution amount. Where do you get these charities from? So this book has hundreds, if not 1,000 charities in it. We used to give a book to every single person with their form, trying to be fiscally sound, so that doesn't happen anymore. You will each get one of these before you leave. So when I said you send an email to your people, tell them you have this posted outside your office, they can come grab it. This listing is also online on the CSECC website. Okay, did you put that link in their email? If not, we'll...
CSECC.org.
Okay, csecc.org. And it's right on the bottom too. So if you, again, I encourage you to send an email out to everybody. You put that link. If they don't want to come look at the book, they can go online and see what that deduction code is to enter in here. Okay. If they have more than 3, it gives you a spot to enter 3 charities. If they have more than 3, they can just use a sheet of paper and list the same information that's on here and attach it to the back with those other additional charities on there. Okay. If there's a charity they really want to give to and they're not listed here, they can name their own charity. And what they need from that charity, the key thing is their tax ID number. And they'll be happy to give it. It's not like a social where they don't want to give it out. They'll be happy to give out their tax ID because they know you want to contribute to them. So that's the key element of if they're not in the book and they want to write them in, get that tax ID number from that charity. Okay, and all that should add up to either your new deduction or your change to that deduction. Box J, and this is an optional field. If you want an acknowledgement letter, so these are all tax deductible. You have your paycheck stubs to prove that the deduction came out. You can write those off on your taxes. However, if you desire a letter from that organization at the end of the year, this will put you on their list to send that acknowledgement letter to you. So if you were given the Boys and Girls Club of Sacramento, you want a letter at the end of the year that says, thank you, we acknowledge your donation of $120 this year. By marking this box and filling that information out, that authorizes them to send you that letter. So that's what that box would be used for. And again, you need to sign that, the next box here to kind of authorize these specific deductions. We need those signatures there and there. Lastly, on the form is box L and M. These are just voluntary boxes. They aren't checked. I think if you have over 10 years, your name's posted on the website. They don't go and prove that you've been given 10 years. But if you wanted to, give yourself a shout out and say, I've been giving since 1990, right? They would put your name on the website as given for over 10 years. And if you want to say that you currently volunteer, you can mark that too. Just some credit there, but there's no kind of tie-in to your deduction amount or anything along those lines. So that's kind of the quick overview of this form and what those fields mean, and just do your best to make sure this process isn't intimidating to your employees and encourage them to give, but again, just encourage them to return the form no matter what. That's the important thing. Any other questions that
When are
you
the forms
have?
due back to?
Do we know when the forms are due?
I'm thinking about the 17th, 18th
Do we know that?
would be about right.
Yeah. Is it like
That's
Friday?
midweek, about the 17th, 18th.
Of October?
They're due
So
back the
we'll-
17th or 18th.
Yeah, so we'll say mid-October right now. We'll reach back out to all of you, with, in that kind of that last week, and, give you a heads up that, hey, we need your forms back. We haven't got them yet. So kind of give your employees a deadline, maybe like October 10th or something like that, so you have plenty of time to pick up the stragglers, somebody's out on vacation, and see if you buy yourself some more time to get that back. And we can take some stragglers after if there's a few that, hey, somebody's on vacation, we've done that before, and Liz has plenty of work, so she won't be missing a couple forms before then. Yesenia?
Was there a minimum on the one-time gift deduction?
I don't know if that's a $5 minimum as well. Let's just say it is, so we don't run into any problems, because that's kind of was the direction, a $5 minimum. So we'll tie it to that just so we don't run into any problems. So the question was, is there a minimum on this one time as well? We're going to say, yeah, there's a $5 minimum on any contribution.
That can't be a deduction, that's only check or cash.
Yes, this is for just, hey, I don't want to give all year round, I just want to write one $50 check and turn it in right now, and they can do that. That would be if I don't want an ongoing deduction.
And you don't need the socials for that one?
That you don't need the social because there's nothing to link up to the SCO.
Are these pre-tax?
These are pre-tax deductions. They are.
It's interesting because I asked that last year and I was told that it wasn't.
Is
So,
that-
They're not pre-tax. They're
yeah.
not pre-tax. They're
They're
post-tax.
not.
No, you deduct it on your tax form on Schedule A.
That's right.
That's
Sorry.
the charitable campaign contributions.
They're not
So-
pre-taxed.
Yes,
They're not
yes,
pre-taxed.
I do remember that. So did everybody get that? Because I said it wrong. They're not pre-tax deductions. You take, as I said before, you take it on your tax returns. You can deduct it.
When did the deduction start?
The deductions start January 1, correct? Is that right? Yeah, so this is set up for January 1. One thing I like to reiterate is it feels like this is a once-a-year go-round. This is actually an ongoing process. We have this campaign every year, but let's say you sign up for the deduction and it starts January 1. You hit a financial hardship. You can't afford it anymore. You can download this form off the website, say delete my deduction and send it in. And right, it takes some lag time to process, but you could delete it at any time. Opposite, if you felt like you wanted to make a deduction and you didn't make it now, you can print this form off the website, fill it out, send it in. It tells you where to mail it and everything, and you could kick in a deduction at any point in time of the year. But these are to start January 1. Yes.
Do you guys have any numbers or estimate of how many people actually declined last year?
We don't have those numbers. What we have is the dollar amount, and I didn't collect it this from 2012. But what we have is the total number of dollars that are being deducted from CalPERS overall. And I can send those out because I did some comparisons last year to get the trends and to see how we're doing. And, you know, I like to make a difference and see if it goes up. But I'll gather those numbers and send them out to everybody so you have an idea. Because we have those ongoing.
The information is also on the website.
Okay,
The dollar amount and the number of employees
okay,
on the
Who we're
CSECC
getting.
website.
okay.
The only thing that I was going to tell you is that I would encourage your donors to make a copy of their sheet for their record, because it used to come out in multiple copies, and the donor used to get one, and we used to turn one in now. So there's only one sheet now, so each employee should keep a copy of their own, so when they get that January paycheck, they can make sure that the correct amount is coming out. It's also for their tax return.
Yep.
Encouraged to make copies for themselves.
Yep. Okay. Any other questions? Anita?
So we're all gonna compose an email out to our folks and stuff. Is there like a standard one that you want us to use with instructions or just our own?
You can use your own. I can't remember if I crafted one last year. I may have, but I'll see what I have and try to get it out to you, what we did last year, because I put out one to everybody and just talked a little bit about the campaign and how it's, you know, a government code requirement to offer this, and this is your opportunity.
Sample or something,
Yep.
otherwise like most of them.
Yep.
I just thought to be consistent.
Yep, sure thing.
There's no electronic way to submit the form?
There isn't.
Okay.
Yeah, we're still in the hard copy realm, for whether it's for on purpose or not, I don't know. If they choose option E, I don't believe they need their social security number for continue. This is just kind of a formality, because their deduction's already gonna come out, and if they don't choose anything else, if they don't turn in their form, it's just gonna continue. So they only need the social if they're changing, or it's a new payroll deduction, or a delete. Yes?
The phone number is actually an 888 number.
Fix that. That's a good point. I can't remember if we,
You're right, it is an 888.
I think we fixed it.
So on the bottom of this form, should be 888 to do.
Yes, thank you. I don't want to run into that problem again. So you got 800 down here, 888. What that does is that just, if they have any questions about, I wonder how much I'm contributing now, if they don't want to ask you, and then they can call this 888 number and get that type of information.
Yeah, because you can't on someone else's behalf. I did try.
Oh, yes.
My supervisor,
They asked
mess
you.
with it, and they're like, well, we can't talk to this.
Yeah.
Well, it would be on their pay stub.
Yeah, it would be, yes.
You could also find out
But
who you give
they
to.
usually want to
Yeah.
find out who they're
Breakdown.
contributing to. Yeah, and so they can call and get that information. Barbara?
Do we only require a signature if it's through the state controller's office, this form? I mean, if someone's doing a one-time, like maybe writing in their own organization, do they still sign the form?
I mean,
It's good to have it signed.
it's good to have it, but I mean, technically, if they wrote a check and they marked box G, then it wouldn't really matter. We're gonna take their money. And that's a good point. What I didn't add is, if they do a one-time deduction, they can still do this down here to direct where they want it to go, right? Or they can just leave it blank and send it to the Greater United Way.
But they should, if they want it to go, if it's a one-time and they want it to go, they should sign.
They should sign here so that they're authorizing it to go to those specific charities.
Is there ever an instance where you don't sign it? I thought you sign it always.
Well, if you can always sign it. I mean, if you're declining, you're not really authorizing them to process, right? It's, the signature is really to authorize the state controller to do what you've asked, what you've filled out. So when they're declining, they don't really need to sign necessarily. But if you're taking an action, then they need to sign there and here for their specific charities.
If they decline, they should just initial it, so that we have proof that they were offered it, and that
Yes, I think it has.
there's a place for initials.
It asks for their initials down below. So you're not declining for everybody you can't track down. But- All right, so I ask you to sign the confidentiality agreement. There's some extras up here. So those of you who have additional reps, like we do in benefits for our various areas, if you know you have additional reps, and I have them listed here who the reps are. So if you're not sure if you have more than one for your area, it's listed up here, and you can take them confidentiality. But otherwise, I ask you to, I think you all got one, sign it, turn it in. I think I'm going to hand these out. Is Acto here? Oh, there you are. You afraid to come in? So here's your 100.